All right, a couple things before we start. If you look up on the screen right here, what you'll see, and I didn't send all this stuff to you, just so you know. I got this from Evan, who's my counterpart at the St. Louis campus. He said they're going to be, for lack of better words, there's kind of going to be sort of a mini job fair, but it's not a job fair, from this place called Lidos, and it's March 3rd, which is 2 weeks from Thursday. They're going to make a presentation. They have hired Rankin grads before. I know they've hired at least one from this program who went to work as a Java programmer, and he worked there for a year or two, okay? And I know he liked it, and I know the main reason he's not there is he didn't like driving out to Scott Air Force Base every day. All right, so he got a job closer to home. He's still a Java programmer. So they're doing this virtual thing, and we can attend using Teams. It's going to be an hour and a half. There's one at 10:30 and there's one at 1. I'm not going to do the 10:30 one. Those almost all the people in my morning class are brand new. They're brand new, so I don't think that's going to really help. All right, but I plan on doing this, and he would like to have a big crowd, etc. Now, I can send this to you if you're interested, but it's some stuff about the company. It's so generic in nature. And basically, they're saying how they hire for a lot of different kinds of positions. There's hardly anything IT in there. There's virtually nothing. It's like 46 PowerPoint slides. All right, that's first thing. Second thing, Evan, again, sent me this thing right before class. All right, it says there's a company called Regis, and as it says, they're seeking an associate programmer analyst. All right, so they're looking for somebody with experience in SQL, NoSQL, C# or Java, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. All right, I know nothing about it other than if you look right here, you'll notice that I got the message at 11:12, and I checked my mail right before I came to class. So I sent this all, I forwarded all of this to all of you, and I just said, hello, this is an FYI. Please apply right away if you're interested. Supposedly, it's also up on the Rankin Connection site. And again, I know I've said this before, but if you don't have an account with Rankin Connection, certainly you should go and set one up. All right. Let's see. There was one more thing. I don't remember what it was, but I'll tell you in a second. Oh, I sent you this stuff. I sent you a folder called bluesclass.zip that we're going to use, and we're going to work with it today. So if you would grab that folder and zip it to where you normally unzip things, or unzip it to where you normally unzip things, be it your desktop or whatever. We're going to do a program between today and tomorrow, and I got to warn you right now, I've done it. I can't get mine to work. So ideally, you're going to help me to debug it. But I think it's going to be a good learning experience as far as us getting some more Recyclerview stuff. Okay? All right. So what I emailed you, just so you know, you can open it yourselves, I understand that, but just so you know, there's two things in here. First is an image, or images of everybody I could find that's currently on the Blues. Well, when I said currently, if you tell me they were traded, to be honest with you, I am a sports guy, but I'm not a big hockey guy. But I do watch it because I find it interesting, even though I don't know all the rules. All right. But there were 24 pictures that I found. Okay? And if I open them up, what you're going to notice is they're bigger. All right? In other words, if we're going to have a Recyclerview, we wouldn't have them be that big. Does that make sense to everybody? So what I did was I changed the size of all of them, not here, but I changed the size of all of them that we're going to use to put them in the program. All right? It's going to allow me to talk to you about a few different things, most of which I've talked about already, but some of which I have not. The other thing that's in there is so you wouldn't have to go and do a boatload of typing. I've already created the some of the strings.xml file stuff for you. All right, so these are going to be 4 of our fields here. Don't worry about them right now. It's totally fine. But these are the players that I just showed you, all 24, so that's their names. I did not make a separate first name and last name. I just did a name thing. And you might say, well, who cares? That actually is important. I'll tell you why later. Here's their numbers. Here's the position that they play. And here's, when I say bio, I went out to NHL.com and just grabbed a sentence or two about each one of them. So I didn't make this stuff up, just so you know. Okay? All right. So with that said, we're just going to start right away, and I'd like all of you to please start to, get into get into Android Studio, start up a new empty activity, and what did I say we call it? I'll show it to you in a minute. And I've gotten to the point where I'm going to have to do major work on this computer, just because, like I said, every time I try to grade anybody's stuff now, it comes out, and since I went back and I did some reloading, etc., it doesn't like some of the stuff that I have in here, just so you know. So, not that that affects you, but it doesn't make me a happy camper. So, empty activity. Next, we're going to call this Blues Recyclerview. I think Blues Recyclerview app is what I called it. You don't even need the app. Just Blues Recyclerview. That'll be fine. Okay? Everything else probably is set already for you, so just click Finish. All right, let it build. It's funny because this morning I got this message saying that it wouldn't let me do this because I didn't have this Gradle file, and I thought, well, I know I have it. It says it should be in this location. So I looked in that location, and it was there both in zipped and unzipped format. So I removed it, unzipped the one that was there, and now it's been working okay since then. So I don't understand a lot of things, and that's one of those I don't understand. So I'd like you to immediately go out to activitymain.xml. This will be the easy one, of course. Get rid of the text view that's in there. All right, go up to your common controls here, grab the recycler view, and just drag it in and let go. And we're just going to pin this. In other words, what I'd like you to do is just this. Look on the screen here. Just click here. And once it gets set, it'll turn blue. Click here. Click here. And click there. Come on. There you go. Once they've all turned blue, it's all been set. All right, so you can do a file, save all, and you should actually be able to probably, I don't think we're going to do much more with that one. Okay? All right. So the next thing that I'd like you to do is, again, I'm assuming that everybody has now unzipped that file that I told you about. Okay? So go over to Res, open up your Res folder. And it doesn't matter the order in which we do these, but we'll go to drawable first. So single click on the drawable so that it's highlighted like this. All right. Then go to the folder that I just emailed all of you. Open up the images folder. Highlight all of these, Control A, Control C, or however you do your highlighting and, copying. And then go back into here. Right mouse click on here. And choose paste. Make sure you choose the top one here, the drawable, not the drawable V24. And click OK. And it'll come back and say copy specified files. That's what we want, so click OK again. If it worked, if you open up drawable, you should see this. All right. Now, to try to make sure I named them correctly and I had them in the right order, etc., you'll notice that each person, because this is just how they were on the thing I found with their pictures. So there's an A underscore before Ivan, Barbashev, etc. That's why I did that, just so you know. There's nothing special about that. Yes?
And I think on G, you're going to have to refactor the J and Jordan.
Oh, crud. No, that's on me. You're right. Okay, yeah, go back. Thank you. I'd like to say I did that on purpose for a teaching experience, but I screwed up. So go to the one that's G. It should be underlined. Jordan, go over there. Do a refactor, rename, and just change that to a lowercase j instead of an uppercase j. That was on me. And click refactor, and then it should be okay. Yep, that's because I sent them wrong. Thank you. You're right. You are correct. All right. So that's there. We shouldn't have to do any more as far as playing with those pictures. So I'd like you to go to your values folder and open up your strings.xml file. Hit enter a couple times after your first string that's in there. Then go back again to your blues class folder that I gave you. Open up that blues string .text file, copy the whole thing to your clipboard, come back to here, and paste it in. All right, so basically what I've done is I've given you all of the stuff that we're going to end up needing. Today we're not going to worry much, really not at all, about the description. I plan on going for a couple hours today, but I really would like us to take our time because I want this stuff to make sense. All right? And I want to tell you too, so if we get this done between today and tomorrow, or however much we're going to get done, etc., then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, again, probably for about 2 hours a crack, we're going to go over this President Recyclerview, all right? Then I'm going to give you your homework. Now, for your homework, just so you know, all right? And maybe I told you this before, maybe I didn't. I don't remember. But there are approximately 25 people who work on this campus in various jobs. All right, and when I say here, we're talking about staff and faculty of Rankin Technical College. All right, you kind of need to get Joy in there too because she's our custodian and she probably works harder than anybody else does here. But you understand what I'm saying. All right, what I'd like to have us do, and you are not going to be responsible for it, I am drafting an email where I am sending a copy to all 25 of these people, which would include me, Mr. Corrigan, Mr. Grow-Herring, Mr. Parsons, etc., okay? But I'm trying to get a picture of each one of those. And I want us to make an app for this campus, all right? And what you can do then is, ideally, we're going to be able to, because you're going to learn how to do this week, create a menu with a couple of different options in it. One is you want to be able to list everybody in alphabetic order. And the other one is I'd like you to be able to list people by department that they're in, okay? I'm going to give you very, very few clues on how this should look because in an ideal world, I will get 5 of these that look very, very radically different from one another. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. All right, you're going to get some time in class to work on those. When we get done, what I'm going to ask that you do, so we're talking about probably, let's say approximately 2 weeks from today, okay? Just say approximately. If you have not already done so, I'd like you to register with the Google Play Store. Again, it's a one-time $25 cost. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take those after you're finished with them, we're going to upload them to the Google Play Store. The reason that I picked that one is I'm going to tell those people that once it's out there, once we've got them done, they can go out there and look at them. Okay? And we're going to go through the process of submitting it to the Play Store or, ourselves. So we're going to spend it won't take a whole class period, but it might just because they make you do cartwheels, with everything that you've got to do. And you've got to click this, and you got to click this, and you got to do this in this order, etc. So that way it's kind of a pain in the butt, but we'll go through all that stuff. And I will also record it just in case, either somebody is not here or somebody has a problem with it. You will, again, that one I will want you to upload plus your final project that you do. You will have to upload that as well. In fact, for your final project, I'm not sure about this one, but for the final project, that's part of your grade. That's probably 10% of your grade, is having that set up to the Google Play Store. Now, if person X in here sends theirs out to the Google Play Store, and if for some reason it gets rejected, typically it means that when you fill out all these things that are online, you forgot to check a box, and I'm being serious. So you check the box and you send it back in again. But if for some reason they refuse it and they give you a valid reason, you can still get credit if you can prove you've at least done that. But they will not accept it if you don't have an account with the Google Play Store. And again, it is a one-time $25 fee. This is the only time in the 2 years here that I know of that you're asked to do anything that where you incur any kind of financial responsibility on your part. All right. So I don't think we're going to have to do anything with this, at least not for a while. So I'm going to do a save all, and I'm going to close the strings file too. All right. The next thing we're going to do, and again, it's not that we have to do this, but it's something we haven't done yet, is open up your colors.xml file. And I went online, and I found out the blues colors, they're blue and yellow. I knew that. But I found out the blue's blue and the blue's yellow. All right? So this is what I got when I went out there. So I'm going to ask you to add 2 more colors. And I'm really original, so I call the first one, oops. I call the first one blues blue. All right. And I set it equal to hashtag 002F87. It's a very dark blue. So if you see that very dark blue there, you should have it. Is that big enough? Can you guys read that okay? Okay. And the other one, I called it blues yellow. And that one is $FFB81C. All right? It's kind of a golden, but, you know, again, like I said, and if you say, well, that isn't really the color, well, that's what it said when I Googled it. Okay? All right. So you can do a save all again, and we can close that one. Again, this is just prelim type of work. All right? Okay. So let's see. All right. Now, we've already got our Recyclerview. You saw that. I'm not going to bring that up again. But we have to bring up our layout. You know, so a single thing that goes in the Recyclerview. Okay? So if you would, please, right mouse click on your layout folder, choose new, and go to layout resource file. If I said that too fast, it's up on the screen. Right mouse click on the layout folder, choose new, and choose layout resource file. All right, and that should bring up this. Simply, we're going to put in here for a name row layout. Then just either hit enter then, or click the OK button. So it's row_ layout. This has to be in lowercase, and don't run words together. That's what the underscore is for. So row_ layout. You can leave it as a constraint. The source set is good. The directory name is good, and there's nothing in that box there that we have to choose. All right. Now, if we did this right, after we click OK, we should now have a new layout file in here that's called row_layout.xml. We're going to do this one a little differently. All right. What I'd like to have happen is I'd like this to look really nice and have a little bit of blank space in between each one, etc. So I'd like this one, the one that we did last time looked okay. It didn't look terrible or anything, but without putting in a lot of the equivalent of CSS with margin and padding, etc. All right, it didn't look as good as it could look. Now, quite often when you're using a Recyclerview like this, what people do, and this is what I want you to do, I want you to go over to where it says containers. See this? Look right. You see where I am here? Go over and click on containers. And about a third of the way down, you'll see card view. I'd like you to click on card view and literally just drag it into your component tree right to the bottom of your constraint layout and let go. Okay? Now that is a way that you can do this. We now have a card layout on here, just so you know. All right? We're going to set some properties on there in just a moment. Now, I'm going to show you this, and if you're like, I could care less, okay. But I wanted to show it to you anyway, and that is if we go out to developer.android.com, they do a very good job, as they always do in here. So if you type in card view, what you'll see is create a card-based layout. All right, either one of these are good. I've looked at both of them. Okay. Now, before we start putting stuff in here, we're going to put a few things in here, as you'd guess, because otherwise it wouldn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. We're going to format this, all right? And I've printed out my formatting. I tried being really good here, so be as, okay. All right. Now, we're going to go and we're going to, with the card view right here, we're going to add the stuff in here in code mode, just because it's easier to start typing. All right. So we want the width to be match parent and the height to be wrap content. They already are. Now, eventually what's going to happen is we're going to have a thing that's going to kind of look like this. All right. And again, it's going to represent one row of the stuff that we're trying to put in here. Okay. We're going to set some margins. I'm just going to come to, see where this ending thing is here? I'm just going to hit enter a couple times just so I've got some blank space, and I'll move that back up later. All right, so we're going to add some margin top, margin bottom, margin start, and margin end, but two of them have got different values, so we're going to just, again, you probably have already seen this, but I'm going to type in here margin T for top and hit enter. So boom, you know, it finds it, and now I can put in my margin top. And we're going to put in 15 dp here. And next we're going to have the margin bottom. And we're going to make that 5 dp. Next we're going to have a margin start. And that's going to be 8 dp. And finally we're going to have a margin end. And that'll also be 8 dp. All right. So all we're doing right now is we're playing around with this a little bit for lack of better verbiage. Okay? And it'll make more sense when we put in everything here and then we switch back and look at it in design view. I mean, there's a card view here that doesn't look like anything. So after we put all this stuff in, if you go back to design view, it looks just the same as it did before because there's nothing in it yet. All right, so we're going to add stuff to it in just a couple minutes. All right, so I type in card with a B for card background color, so card B. And this, the background color, I put in here at color. And it'll be blues yellow, so that'll be the background color. Now, when we go through this, if you decide later you'd rather use a different color or you'd rather do something else, hey, go for it. That's totally fine. All right. We're also going to put in here, I'm going to type in corner with an R, corner radius, and we're going to set that to 20 dp. In other words, we want this to look a little rounded. This is the same way that we set radius up for our buttons in the AWD1100 class or 1000 class. When we were making HTML buttons, it's the same type of an idea. All right. And we're going to also do what's called a card elevation. Oops, not there. So type in card L like that and hit enter and set that to 8 dp. And again, the only way that you'll know what some of this stuff is and how it works is to sit and play with it, or actually go out to the URL that I just showed you that's out under developer.android.com. All right? Okay. Now we're going to set a few more constraints in here. The first one we want is bottom to bottom. So I typed in bottom underscore and hit tab, and then it came here. All right? And I just want to set it to the parent. Spell it right. All right. And then I want an end to end, so end to end. And I want that to be parent. And then we want top to top. And that is going to be parent. And then finally we want, well, we got bottom, we got end. Start to start. Start to start constraint. Oh, it was in there, so let me try it again. There we go. Start the start of and make that parent. All right, and that'll be it for this, so I'm going to bring that back, the ending thing that I had there. Okay, so the whole thing looks like this, just in case anybody missed anything. Let me double check. So, good. Okay, so that's that. The next thing that we want to do, and again, now we can go back into design view. We could do this manually in code view, but if you look right now, it doesn't really look very different. We've got a couple constraints in there, and that's it. But it looks pretty much the way it did before, which means there's nothing in there yet. Now, not always, but most of the time when you create a Recyclerview app, what you're going to do is you're going to come in there and create a card view. Then inside of that card view, you're going to put in another constraint layout. So look on the screen, please. Click up here, right there where it says Layouts. Grab another constraint layout and drag it right underneath the card view, just like that. And this is where we're going to put the stuff that's going to go in there in just a second. All right? You don't have to name this. The card, there's only going to be one card view in here. If you want, you can name this constraint layout. If for some reason you want to do that, it's not a problem one way or the other. But again, I'm going to come in here, and we can do it here. All right, we've got a match parent right here for our layout width and our layout height. We want to change the height, and instead of match parent, we want the height to be wrapped content. So you can either do it right here. If you look on the screen, you can do it right there, or you can go back into code mode and put it in right there. It really and truly doesn't matter one way or the other. All right. And the reason that we're doing that is if we left it at match parent, what you'd have, every screen would have one player on it. So as you flicked up, you'd only see one player. We want there to be somewhere around 10 players or so, 8 to 10 players on each screen. Okay? All right. So then I'm going to go back into design view again. And right underneath that constraint layout we just put in, I'm going to click up here on my palette. I'm going to click back to common. And I'm going to put in a text view, and I'm going to stick it right underneath that. So I've got a text view. Oh, don't do that. I just was thinking. We could do that, but let's put the image view in first. All right. So let's go. We've got an image view right here. Let's put the image view down there. And it says, what do you want? You can grab anyone you want. The first one, Ivan Barbashev, that's a mean-looking picture. So I didn't like that, so I just picked Tyler Bozak, who's next, and put that in there. So now you can see what it looks like, and it's going to change as we do this. But you can see a few things, such as you can see the roundedness that we put in there. Okay, so you can start to see some of that stuff. All right. Now, again, you can either do it right here, or you can go back into code mode, but I want you to set both the width and the height, both of them, to 100 dp. And you can see as soon as I did that for the width, how much different the picture looks. And when I do it for the height, boom. That's more, it's getting to look more the way we want it to look. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. Now I'm going to jump back into code mode for this because there's a few things that I want to add. So right now, if you want, this would be the time because, you can use image view. All right, that's totally fine. I call mine IV player image because that's what it is. It's an image view, and it's the player's image. We're going to put in 3 text views, but before we do, the one text view is going to be for the player's name, one text view is going to be for the player's number, and one text view is going to be for the player's position. We're going to do that momentarily, but before we do, there's a few things that we want to set in here. All right, like what? Well, the first thing is we want this spaced a little. So type in the word padding, hit tab, and just set for like 5 dp of padding. Again, this is very much, when you start doing this, it's an individual decision as far as, well, I don't like, you put in too much, or you didn't put it, then change it. It's totally fine. All right. We're going to stick in a couple more constraints in here. We're going to have another bottom to bottom. All right, and that'll be parent. And then we're going to put a start to start. And that'll be parent. And then a top to top with parent. Oops. All right. Let's see. Actually, that should be about it. Okay. There's other things we can put in here. All right, we could put tints and a bunch of other stuff, but that should be, I think at least, that should be sufficient for now. So I'm going to do a file, save all. And when I go back and jump back into design mode, you can see what it looks like. Okay? All right. So there's the stuff for the image view. We're not done yet. Nope. Because next, we're going to come in here and again, do it whatever way you want. You can either come in and do it right here in code mode, or you can go back into design mode. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go out and find a text view under my common controls and put it right underneath my image view. Okay? One thing you should get used to doing when you do this is right away, just get used to changing the ID. It's just wise to do it right from the beginning. All right, so come in here, and I'm going to make this TV player name. All right, TV for text view, player name. Okay, and hit enter. Now, right now, it'll come back and say search all this, sure, and refactor. You can see where it is. It's going to move in just a second, as you'd probably guess, because we're going to put some constraints and stuff in there. Okay. But start to think about what we want to constrain to what. All right, and if you say, I don't get what you mean, I'm just going to show you in just a second. Now, what I'm going to do next, you can remove the text right away if you want, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go down to hint. So I'm going to go all the way down to hint. And in here, I'm going to click the rectangle on its side there, and I'm going to find TV player name hint. I'm going to choose that so it turns blue, and I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to remove the actual text that was in there that just says text view. All right. So now what should happen then is we should have in there just name. Okay, and that's fine. We're going to make some changes to that right now. Okay. Again, I'm going to go back into code mode here, and there it is. So I've got this is what I've got so far in here. Okay. All right. I'm going to put some start margin in here. Oh, not there. So margin start. All right, we're going to put in 15 dp. Why? Because we want to move this. This is going to go right to the right of our picture. Does that make sense? So we want there to be a little margin in there so there's a little space in between each one of them. All right. And let's see. We don't need to put any text. Let's put in a text color. So type in, you can just type in text, COL. And I'm going to make this blues, blue. Again, the background is going to be yellow, and the text is going to be blue. I tried it the other way with the background being blue and the text yellow. I just didn't like the way it looked with the players' pictures to have a dark blue background like that. All right. So let's set up a text size. Oh, not like that, I'm not. I'm going to hit enter a couple times here. There we go. So a text size. And I'm going to make that 28. Remember, this is not a DP. Texts are SPs for scalable pixels. So SP. let's put in here text style, and I'll make that bold. And we'll put in a couple constraints. Again, a bottom to bottom of. And that'll be the parent. Now the other ones are going to change. All right. What we're going to do with the start to end of, we're going to have it hooked up to the image view. Okay. So here, this is going to be start to, and we don't want start to start of, we want start to end of, and that's IV player image. I'm assuming you're using the same names I used. Again, if you decide to use other names, that's totally fine. That's your call. But it may be a little hard when you're typing along here. All right. And we're going to do a top to bottom of. No, we're not. Oh, this is great. Let's see. Margin start 15. Color blue. Yeah, that's good. Bold, yeah. 28 may not be big enough, but that's still fine. So we've got an end, start to end of, and we'll do a top to top of, and that'll be the parent. So that's everything. I'll leave that up there for just a moment, but just so you see it, if I go back to design mode, there it is. All right. Yeah, I'm looking. I don't know why it's that dark, but I think I know why. We're going to fix that in just a second. All right. Now I'm looking at it. It doesn't look like that's going to be big enough for me, but we'll see. You can always adjust it, you know, if you do want to. So maybe I'll just make it 36. You can leave yours 28. It doesn't really and truly doesn't matter. Okay. So we put in the player name. We've got, I think we've got everything in here that I want. 15, blue, 36, bold, parent. Start to end of, top to top of. You can get rid of this bottom to bottom of this one here. I don't know how I put that in there, but I must have, so. Okay. And let's look at it now. Yeah, that's up a little higher. I think that looks okay. Again, it can be changed around if you decide to do so. All right. Text color is right. Okay, blue is blue. Looks okay. All right. Then I'm going to come back in here, and in design mode, I'm going to bring in yet another text view and put it right underneath the first one. So right there. And I'm going to call this one, this is going to be the person's number. So does it make sense to everybody? I'm just asking this question because I don't know. The first one we just did was for this. Does that make sense? And the one we're going to do now is for this. All right. Okay, so I'm going to change the name right away to TV player number. And I'm going to change the hint right away. After I refactor, I'm going to change the hint to TV player number hint and click OK. And now I can get rid of the text that's in there. All right, so now I've got that. All right, and then I'm going to go back into code mode and play around with this some more. So I've got in here player number, wrap content, okay, with my number hint. We're again going to put a little bit of margin in between here. So I put in a margin start, hit enter a few times, oops. Get rid of that, forget this. Don't put that in. Okay. All right. Again, that'll be 15 DP. Again, I'm going to set the text color. And I set it again to blue's blue. Now I'm looking here. Where's the text color? Oh, you know why this? Anybody have any idea? I'm asking you this. Why this looks so funky? All right, I'm going to show you right now because, again, whoops. When we go back into here and you go back into code mode, when you put in a color like this, it's supposed to be at color slash, like that. All right? And now when I look at it, looks a little bit different. All right? That was on me. Again, I like to say those are teachable moments. They're just stupid moments on my part. So the color, again, I'm going to make now at color slash blues blue. It's like we just did. All right, and I'm going to make the size. I made the other one 36. So if you didn't change yours from there, then you're going to want to make this smaller. I made this one 28. SP. And then had a couple of constraints on here, another bottom to bottom. All right, and that's the parent. Then a start to end. And that was my image view. And finally a top to bottom. And that is to the last text view that I put in, the player name. Okay. So this is what I have. I'm going to save it. And just so you see it, I'll come right back. All right, so this is what we have right now, name and number. Okay? All right. If you want that bold as well, you can make that bold. Just come in here. You can. You don't have to, but we can set the text style and just set it to bold. If you like the way this looks, all right, like that better than it looked before. If you don't, then just leave it the way it was. Either way, it really and truly does not matter. All right. Finally, I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to put in one more text view and I'm going to put it underneath the other ones. I'm going to immediately change the name to TV player position. All right. I'm going to set the hint for my player position hint. Now I can get rid of the text that's in there, which just of course says text view, and now I'll start putting my stuff in here. All right, so again, I'm going to jump back. I'm going to jump back into code mode, and there's a few things. This is going to be it for our layout for now, at least. All right, so I've got two wrap contents, and I've got my hint. We're going to put some margin start in here. Now we want to take the number and we want to put some space between the number and the position. I decided to put a little bit more in here. So margin start, I set that to 30 dp. Hit enter a couple times here. There we go. All right. Again, I set the color, so text color. Now, you might look at this and go, isn't it kind of a waste you keep typing in like text color? That's why you want to go in and set styles and you want to set themes. We could set a style so that automatically every text view we put in would be blue. That blue's blue in color. Or we could set up, we could set up a style for that, or we could set up a theme for the whole page. That's what we're going to be getting to, but not right now. All right, so text color, again, I'm going to set it to at color blue's blue. The size, I'm going to make it the same size as the other one. So that was 28 SP. Since I made the other one bold, I'll make this one bold. All right. And I'm going to put in a couple of constraints. So bottom to bottom of, and that'll be parent. start to end of, and that's going to be the second text view we put in, so that's TV player number. And then finally, top to bottom of, and that is going to be to the first text view. So that is player name. All right, and to my knowledge at least, I think just about, if not, I think we're done. All right, so if I look at what I have now and I go back to design mode, there's my design. Okay, and again, it doesn't look perfect, but ideally, it looks like I'll be able to get at least 6 to 8 of these on a page. All right. Questions on anything we've done? All right. This is good. That's interesting. One, two. All right. So now what we're going to do, we'll go. It's 12:54. It seems hot in here today again, so we'll go till 1 and we'll take a break. All right. So I'd like you to please go over to up here to where you've got your right underneath your Java folder where you've got your edu or whatever you called yours, org dot, inside Rankin, etc. That thing. Right mouse click on there, go to new and Java class. And we want to make a new class that's going to model our data, okay? We're going to probably end up changing this around maybe tomorrow, but for now we're going to keep it pretty simple. So I called it Blues Model with a capital B and a capital M. As always, if you don't like my names, you can choose your own. What's happening here? Some of this printed 1 page, some of this printed 2 pages. Weird. All right, so Blues Model, we're going to put this in and we're going to take advantage of some of the features that are in here. Make sure you set it to class. Later on, we're going to create an interface, but not right now. All right, so Blues Model, hit enter, and you've got this. Now, what I'm about to tell you, we're going to put in 4 pieces of data, but after we do what we do next, you already know most of this, whether you think you do or not. So we're going to put in 3 strings, string, and I called it Blues Name, because it's my Blues Model. So Blues Name, string, Blues Number, string, Blues Position, and finally an int, which I called Blues Image. I did it like that. Okay? All right, now let's take advantage of some of the functionality that we know already exists in here, such as, all right, everybody's here, correct? You've all got this? So right mouse click on this blank line here, choose Generate, choose Constructor, choose all 4 fields, click OK, Now, I don't like the fact that it puts it all on one line like that, so I'm going to move it over. You don't have to do this. I just did it so I'm sure you can all read what's going to go in here. But there's the constructor without us having to do anything. Now, our data is hard-coded in already. Does that make sense to everybody? So we don't need setters, but we can use getters. So again, coming down here, right mouse click again, choose generate, choose getter, not getter and setter, and not setter, getter. Choose all four of these, click OK. We've now got our string to get our name, our string to get our number, our string to get our position, and our int to get our image. Those images are put in there by image ID. All right, that's why we put them in like that. All right. So let's do a file, save all on here, and should be able to close, at least for now, this Blues model class. So remember, this is the name of it because we're going to end up instantiating that in some other places in the program. So it's our Blues model. Nothing special about the name, but a lot of times when people, it's a data model. Does that make sense? We're modeling the data that we have. So, and it's about the blues, and that's why I call it Blues model. But other than that, there's nothing special about it. All right, let's go to our main activity.java file. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to come up on the top here, right here. We're going to have two pieces of data. The first thing is we're going to use what's called an array list. All right? And the advantage of using an array list, even though our data is hard-coded, is with an array list, it can grow and shrink as the program's running. All right? And it just kind of makes sense to do that. All right, so I'm going to make an array list, and it's going to be of type Blues model. Notice as soon it recognized that right away. Okay, so it's an array list of type Blues model, and you don't have to call it this, whoops. But again, what people typically do is they come in here and they call it the same thing, but in lowercase, so Blues model. All right, and I'm going to say that is equal to new array list. Now, you should probably guess we're getting the red because as soon as you right mouse click on one of these that say array list and choose show content actions, it'll say import class. So boom, that fixed that. All right. We may or may not have talked about array lists, so I'll give you the 5-second tour, and that is, okay, when you put in new array lists like this right here is saying that it's an array list, and this is the size. So, whoops, by default, the size has got 16 in it. And what happens is as soon as it reaches 16, it automatically doubles to 32. As soon as it reaches 32, it automatically doubles to 64, etc. You get the idea. All right? Now, the next thing, and this is going to take us to our break, and I'm going to type it in too, so don't tell me how terrible it is, but we're going to say int bracket player images equal, and now we're going to have to put in all 24 of those. So I did it like this. You don't have to do it exactly like I did it, but I'm going to do it here. Oops. And then I'm going to put that in. Oops, come on, Jeff. Like that. But in here, this is where we got to fill in those. All right, so I'm going to give you the first one, and then I'm going to recommend that you copy it 23 times. Okay? So what we want to put in here is big R, drawable, because we're telling it to go to the drawable folder, .a, and notice where they are. It finds that Barbashev. So I hit tab, and that's the first one. Okay? Now, you can copy that 23 times, but what's actually, I think at least faster, is to do this. Type in r.drawable. Okay, and then just put in a comma, and then copy that like 22 or 23 times. It's going to give you errors on each line until we fill those in. All right, like I said, they're all in error right now. We're going to fix them in just a second, and we're taking our break. All right, you don't need a comma after the last one, but then just start filling these in. Hopefully it makes sense. So dot B, C, etc. It goes up to X. And at the end, after your last curly, you do need a semicolon because you are declaring a variable. All right, it is 104. Let's come back, please, at 120. Yes?
How is this able to function within an int array?
It's weird. Basically, what this does right here is it's making an integer array. It's a key value pair, and this part right here is basically the key. So it's numbering those, but you have to use the exact same order in which you put them into the actual string array. All right, that's what it's doing. It's doing it all based on it's a positional thing. All right, and that's one of the reasons I use the A, B, C, etc. because it's too easy for me to screw it up. At first, I was going to use numbers. They don't like it when you start with numbers. That's why I use letters. I just figured that would be just as easy. I actually had A_01_ that I don't need all that. So I just changed it to ABC, etc. All right. All right, so before the break, James had asked basically how this stuff is all correlated. So we're going to look at that right now. I mentioned part of it, but not all of it. I'd like you to go under in your Oncreate, and after your set content view, put in a couple blank lines or so, and we're going to call. This is going to give us an error because we're going to call a routine we're about to create. All right, and it's just called set blues model. Again, we're going to get an error because we don't have a routine called set blues model. We're going to make that right now. So after the Oncreate, right here, let's make that. So private void set blues model. Oops. All right, and that should make your error that you had in there go away. All right, and what we want to do then is we're going to want to loop through each one of the arrays and get our information. Well, we don't have to worry so much about the images one because we've set that one up already. But we do have to come in here and we have to set up and let the system know right now, where are we getting the player's name from, where are we getting the player's number from, etc. So we're going to do that right now. So string player name equals, and we say get resources dot get string array r dot array dot, and looky here, you know, oh, not there, come on, get out of there, get out of there. There's player name. So basically, for lack of better words, it's sort of a lookup type of thing. All right, why am I getting an error here? Let's see. Change variable player name to type string. Change variable player name to type string. Oh, it's string bracket bracket. It's because it's an array. That was smart. Okay, and I'm going to just put in 3 of these. And I'm going to change the second one to number. And I'm going to change the third one to position. All right. And again, this will have to change to number, and the last one to position as well. Now we're not done. But now what we want to do is we want to cycle through each one of those arrays and the image array. All right? And that'll be doing the initialization for us. So we could do it with almost any kind of loop. I just used a for loop. Every once in a while, this computer just gets really sensitive. I mean, super touch sensitive. I don't know why. I've had Charles look at it, and he can't figure it out either. So. Call this up here. We called it player images. So. All right, just like that. That is the for now. All right. I think I might be missing a paren here. Usually when you get that at the end, that's what it means. There you go. Okay. So basically what we're doing here is we're initializing that array list. Does that make sense to people? All right. And since it's an array list, basically what it's going to, it'll be the equivalent of having like the guy's first name, followed by his number, followed by his position, and his image. All right? Like I said, I'm not sure if that's totally making sense or not making sense. Once you've done that, good time to do a file save all. And now we're going to come in and create the adapter. All right, we're going to end up probably doing this over 2 periods, but for now we're going to put in the minimal stuff that we're going to need, hopefully, in order to get this to work. Okay? Everybody's good? All right. Then, as we've done before, we're going to right mouse click up here where mine says edu.rankin, etc. So right up above where you've got your blues model. All right, right mouse click on that, choose new. Again, we want a Java class. And again, this is totally up to us as far as what we call this, but it's going to be a Recyclerview adapter, so usually that's what you call it. And since it's for the blues, it's kind of long, but since the IntelliSense will kick in, I called mine blues Recyclerview adapter. Just like that. Now we're going to add some stuff to this. You may or may not remember this from the other day, but we're going to add some stuff, and it's going to give us errors. All right? And then we're going to add some more stuff, and it may give us other errors. All right? It's just a whole process that you have to go through to do this. What do I mean? Well, the first thing we want to do here is after we say this, so after we come in here and we say public class blues Recyclerview adapter, that extends Recyclerview adapter. That's the first thing. All right? We're not up to errors yet, but we're going to in just a minute. Notice the first one that's up here has got VH. See this thing? It's saying what kind? Well, and again, so we'll come in here with our brackets, and we have to put in blues Recyclerview adapter, like that. All right, don't worry about the error. We're going to get the error out of there, and that error will come out in just a second. All right? Okay, so we've got all that. And then we put in here, it's not just blues Recyclerview adapter, but it's that dot, and then it's going to be our view holder. We can call this whatever we want, but it's my view holder, so I called it, real original, my view holder. Whoops. Like that. All right, and hit enter. Okay, now I'm trying to see if I made any mistakes, because normally I get a lot more underlines than that. So class, public class blues Recyclerview adapter, extends Recyclerview dot adapter. All right, blues Recyclerview adapter dot my. That's all correct. All right, now a couple things. First of all, I got to right mouse click on here and choose show content and import the class. Now I get a bunch of errors. Okay, you may or may not remember this from last week, but there are 3 methods you must implement. They are Oncreateviewholder, OnBindViewholder, and your count method. So if you look over on the screen here, hopefully you see it on yours. If you go, you can do this many ways, but one way is to just, way on the left, you see the light bulb that's up there. If you click, whoops, well, it was there. But you can right mouse click on here, show content actions, and implement methods. You must implement all 3 of these to get this to work. So they should all be chosen by default. Click OK. And it got rid of some of your errors, but not all of your errors. Now you'll notice I've got, at least on my screen, I've got 3 different places where my view holder is in red. And that's because my view holder has not been created. All right? So look on the screen, please. If I come over here to the top one that says my view holder, if I right mouse click on this, show content actions, and I choose create class my view holder, that's going to create that down here. Now, it's good news, bad news. All right? Almost all of our errors are gone right now. Okay, and the other one that's there will be gone in just a minute. That's the good news. The bad news is there's still a bunch of code to write. All right? So they're still giving me an error here. Why? If I right mouse click on it, it says show content actions. What does it says? Make this extend Android Recyclerview view holder. Okay. All right. So if yours had the red squigglies here, I just right mouse clicked on it, shows show content actions, and I just clicked it. So what have we all done here? Okay, this is going to be our adapter. The adapter is a child of the Recyclerview adapter class. All right, and that's why we've got this right there. All right, then we have to tell it what type of adapter it is. Well, Sounds weird, but even though we've already told it here, we've got to put that in here too. All right, and again, it's one of those things, I watched a bunch of videos on it, and some of them are real good and some of them are real bad, but if you watch too many after a while, they do you more harm than good to watch them. All right, so we're going to put a couple comments in here, and hopefully that'll, if you've got a bunch of questions or you've got questions, that'll help at least somewhat. All right, now, I don't know why I keep getting phone call after phone call today. Okay. I've got an article that I forgot to bring in. I'm not going to bring it in, but I'm going to give you the link to it. And what we have to set up in here first, we're not going to use it immediately, but we're going to use it, is what's called context. And I likened context to using the word this in JavaScript. It's basically the current object or the current part of the current object, but we're going to create context. It's going to give us a red thing probably afterwards. And then we're just going to call it context like that. Now, you probably already know, but if you right mouse click on here, it'll say right away, show content actions, import class. All right? All right. So we've got that. And now we want to also add in our array list. So array list. And you'll notice as soon as we do this, and we come in here, we put in the blues model. There it is. All right, we can call it whatever we want, but we might as well call it blues model. Like that. And again, right mouse click on here, show content actions, import class. All right. I had a student ask me in the past, they said, you know, I understand this, but why don't they just immediately set it up so that if you put in array list, boom, it just brings it in for you. Why do you have to do that? The main reason for that is that some of these at least are overloaded, and it doesn't want to suppose that the top one is the one that you want to use. All right, and I believe that's the rationale or the reason that it's done like that. All right. Now, one thing that we have to do in here, after we do all this, is now we can come in and we can create a constructor. This is a class. Remember, every Java class must have a constructor. If you don't make one, one is made for you that does nothing. All right, but, all right, they all need one. So we're going to put that in here. And remember that when we put in our, it's just public, followed by the name of the class, which is Blues Recyclerview. And we're going to pass two things in there. Here's a surprise. We're going to pass in context, and we're going to pass in an array list. All right? So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say context. And again, you can call it context again. Sometimes you see it as CTXT or whatever, or just CT. It doesn't really matter. All right. And our array list, blues model. And again, I'm going to call that blues model. So you'll notice if you take a look up here, what you should notice is that I've used the same names for my local variables or my arguments that I have for the actual variables themselves. The only reason I'm bringing that up, and you've heard this before, that means I must use the word this in here. All right? So I got to come in here and say this dot context, dot context equals context, and this dot blues model equals blues model. Now again, if I didn't want to go to all that trouble, if you look up on the screen here, I could have called this CT, and I could have called that BM for blues model. All right, if we wanted to do that, it really and truly wouldn't matter. All right, you see it done both ways is what I'm saying. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is the easy one because it's only one line of code. All right, so let's go down here where we've got this get item count. Okay, right down here. Okay, and I'm just going to put a comment here. All right, and it's just going to be a count of the number of total items the recycler view is to display. Now, I want to show you the wrong way to do it. All right? You sometimes see it done like this, but this is the wrong way of doing it. Don't type this in. All right? You may or may not have counted, but we had 24 total people. Okay? You shouldn't do that. It is possible, especially if you set it up in such a way, you know, we only did getters, but if you set it up with setters, you might be changing, you might be adding players, removing players. So this should be right here. You should say blues model dot size. Okay? Now, if we didn't want to say that, we could have used one of our variables, you know, that we had before, dot length or something. So there's more than one way of doing this. Oh, that is dirty. Look at that. Nobody said anything. I spelled count wrong. Guess which letter I left out? Hey. Okay. All right. So now let's go back and let's write the rest of our stuff in here. Okay? The order in which you do these isn't going to matter, just so you know. And I'm going to just put this on another line just because I want to make sure you can see everything as we're doing it. That's all. You don't have to do that. All right. Yeah, I'll hit enter one more time. There we go. All right. So the first thing one we'll do is the Oncreateviewholder. And as we just did down here, let's just put in at least a comment, kind of showing what's going on in here. Okay. All right. So this is where we inflate the layout, i.e. give the look to each row. And again, I'm not saying, hey, that's what it is. Does that make total sense? Because it might not. So much of the stuff that you end up doing in here is boilerplate. In other words, you do it the same way every time. The only thing that changes in here, usually, the only thing that changes in here is the name of the adapter and the names of your fields, etc. But the logic and stuff that's going on in here is pretty much the same thing. All right. So you see down here it says return null. Don't get rid of that line, but we're going to put two lines above that, and we're going to return something that ain't null. All right. So the first thing we want to come in and see here and say is layout inflator. Layout inflator equals layout inflator dot from, and we need our context. We'll fix these errors, so don't worry about that. We'll fix them in just a second. And view equals inflator dot inflate r dot layout dot row underscore layout parent false. Now let's fix these errors quick. This first one, again, if I right mouse click, choose show content actions, import the class, those are all fixed. Now let's go to view here, show content actions, import class, that's fixed. Go to inflator here, show content actions, let's see, what is it? I must have screwed up. View. Oh. We can call it layout inflator, or we can just call it inflator. I call it both. That's not good, but just so you know. All right. Now, look on the screen here if you would. See this? We're telling it what? All right. We're telling it basically that's the layout that we're going to use for this. Remember this? This is the one that we created together before. All right. And we called it row layout. All right. Now, instead of returning null at the end, we want to return, it's kind of a pain, new blues Recyclerview adapter dot my view holder, and then inside of there we want to put in view. Oh, in those parentheses, we want to put in view. All right? And that error should go away when we do the other stuff that's in there. Okay? So this is where we're setting it up. Basically, in here, we're creating, kind of look at it that way, we're creating each one of these. All right. Now, if you notice in here, we've got an error under the word view. All right. Now, please look up on the screen here. This is that other class. See this? Somebody tell me. It's a magic word. What is this? What does every class need that this one doesn't have? Anybody?
Constructor.
There you go. So, rather than put it in, right mouse click here where you've got your error on the word view, choose Show Content Actions, and it says Create Constructor. And sure enough, look what it did. It created that for us. Now you can do it either way. There's nothing magical about having it created for you. All right? And don't worry, we'll get that error that after the word super. I think we need to put view in there, but that's not even a big thing. So we've got, so far, we've come in and we've got our Oncreateviewholder in there, and there's no error. We've got our count in there, and there's no error. That's a good start, and I'm being serious here. That's a good start. So let's go down to our OnBindViewholder, which is the other one that we have yet to write. All right, and I'm going to put a comment in there that says assign values to the views created in the row layout file based on their position in the Recyclerview. And again, I'm not supposing that that comment that I just put in totally makes sense. So let's break it down. Where it says assign values to the views, what we want to assign values to are, look up on the screen if you would please. Let's see, we get back to here. Get back to here and bring this up. We want to assign values to this, and to this, and to this, and to this. Does that make sense? All right. So we're binding right now. In other words, this, you remember the job of the adapter, that the job of the adapter basically is to be a communication type of mechanism. It's a go-between, it's an interloper, whatever you want to call it. All right, it's a middleman or a middlewoman or a middle person, whatever, like I said, you want to call it. It's making sure that our program is able to communicate with that XML file. You've heard this kind of thing before. All right, not a lot of code in here, about 5 or 6 lines. Okay. Now, just so you know, we're going to put in about 5 lines, and I think we're going to get 5 errors. We're going to fix those because I'm doing this top to bottom. All right. So if we get 5 errors in here, don't let it bug you. All right. Now, if you notice in here, we've got this thing that basically, where is it? This. So we're calling what we're about to create in my view holder, we're calling it holder. Can everybody see this on the screen? We're calling it holder. So I'm going to put in some stuff here. Holder dot. All right. Now, what I'm going to put in here, we're going to define down below in the view holder. That's why you're going to get the errors right now. So don't let that bother you. All right. But if you look, just please look up on the screen here for a second. I'm not, like I said, I'm trying to do this in what I consider to be the way that would make the most sense to you. Maybe I'm failing. I don't know. But this is called IV player image, TV player name, TV player number, and TV player position. Just remember those. Okay? All right. You say, that's fine. Why to remember those? Well, because I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say TV name. In fact, we can say player name. It doesn't matter. Player name dot set text blues model dot get, and now notice it says in here get what, and the first thing says int index. Well, we want to put in their position. All right, dot get blues name. Now I'll let you put that in, and then I want to take a minute and go over that. And again, we'll fix that error. It'll be fixed in 5 minutes. All right? All right, taking it from the top then. This holder right here, that holder is this right here. All right? That position right there is this position. So what we're telling it is, hey, we want you to, on that particular view holder, on that particular Recyclerview row, we want you to set the text for the player's name. We want you to go out to our class that we created before with our setter and grab, the getter rather, and grab that name. All right? I'm going to take this line, and I'm going to put it in there 3 times. In fact, I'm going to put it in there 4 times, sorry. Okay? Now I'm getting errors, and I'm going to still keep getting errors, but the next one is the player number. So this will be get blues number. All right, this will be position. Move this over a sec. Smidge though. And this will be get blues position. All right. Now, this last one has to be different. It's an image, and as James mentioned before, and it's an integer. So we're not going to be able to do a set text like that. It doesn't make sense to the system. All right? So we call that IV player image. All right? And we don't do a set text. We do a set image resource. All right? And this is get blues image. Now, again, you'll notice when you look in here, we have 4 errors. We've got to fix those errors, and to fix those errors, we've got to go and put some stuff into my view holder. All right? After we put this stuff into my view holder, we're getting there as far as where I wanted to get to today. Okay? All right. So let's go down to my view holder down here, and let's put in yet another comment. Okay? All right. This method grabs the views from the row layout file. In a way, it is sort of like the Oncreate method. If you remember the Oncreate method, what does that do? It does our initialization. Kind of doing the same thing here. All right. So we have to declare. Look up here. We have to declare 4 variables: 3 text views and an image view. All right. So we come up here and we say text view. Oops. And what is it? TV player name. Oops. Try it again. Text view, TV player number, text view, TV player position, and image view, IV player image. Now we're getting those errors, but it's all because we haven't brought in those import files yet. So right mouse click on here, show content actions, import class, that fixed 3 of them, and do it again, and now all 4. Whoops, hold on. Oh, you got to spell view right. It's not image VIW. There we go. Okay, and again, I've got to bring in the class. Now, what you'll notice when you look up here, lo and behold, those errors that were up here before, they're gone. All right, we're still not finished, but we're almost finished for where we're going to today. All right, so now we want to write some code actually in this MyViewHolder class. All right, well, the first thing we have to do is we have to call super, but if you notice in here, we're getting an error. And it says, hey, you're not passing anything, and it requires you to pass in something. All right? So we're going to pass in what's called an item view. Okay? In fact, did I call that item view? Yes, I did. I can leave this as view and put in view right there, or technically, you oftentimes see it like that. That's why I changed it, because it is an item view. It's a view of the item you're currently looking at. All right? Now, we're literally going to put in 4 lines here, and don't type. Just watch for a second. We're used to doing this. That is to say, like, TV, player name, equals find view by ID, r.id.tv player name. Okay? And we put that all in, and lo and behold, we get an error. All right? Because we're doing the same thing, but we have to do it through the item view that's in here. So if you look on the screen, it's item view dot find. Okay? So I'm going to grab that. And I'm going to make my changes in just a second. So I got player name, player number, player position, and IV player image. Okay. Now we literally have about 3 more lines and we're done for the day. All right. Good time to come in here and do a file save all. We're getting references, but we're doing it through this item view that's in here, through this thing. Okay? And I could sit there and say, does that make sense to everybody? And I could give you an explanation that would sound pretty half-assed. All right? But all I can tell you is this is the way that it's got to be done. And that's a terrible answer, but it's the one I'm going to give you. All right. So let's go back to our main activity file. And right before, everybody see this call right here to set blues model? Right before that line, add a brand new line, right there. All right, and we're going to say in there, Recyclerview, Recyclerview equals, what's one thing we didn't do? We didn't give our Recyclerview a name. Remember that? When we put it in, we didn't give it a name. Now, we could just call it Recyclerview. That can get a little bit confusing to people. So usually what people do is, and let's go back to that. So let's go back to our activity main.xml file. All right. The only thing that's in there is the Recyclerview. Okay? And if we go, it doesn't matter if we're in design mode or code mode. Right now, you'll notice it does not have an ID. So let's give it one. I'll just go back into design view. And we could call it literally anything we want. All right? But I'm going to go back to something that we looked at the other day, and that is starting it with a lowercase m and then put in the word Recyclerview. Again, there's nothing at all magic about doing that. The only reason I'm showing it to you like that is that's what a lot of programmers do. They preface all their variable names with M. All All right, so I called it Recyclerview. Get used to when you're using Recyclerview, all right, almost always the R is capitalized and the V is capitalized. It's just the way that it is. All right, so we've now got that, okay? Now when I come back to here and I go back into my activity main, my main activity.java, now I can say Recyclerview equals, and we're going to do now our find view by ID, r.id.m Recyclerview. Okay? Now we're getting that error here. Why? As soon as we right mouse click, show content actions, and import the class. There's two ways that you can do this, just so you know. I can do it just like this, and it works just fine. Or, and this is the way I prefer doing it, is I can go and grab this, and I can grab that part, and I can put it up here. That's the way that I was taught to do it. You come up there and you say Recyclerview up there. Then down here, you just say Recyclerview equals that. Either way will, well, at least put it this way, should work. All right, so you can do it either way. But just like before, we're getting a reference. So that's saying that when we're referring to the Recyclerview, we're going to be calling it Recyclerview. All right? All right. Now, after the call to set up Blue's model, right here. All right, so after that line, we have to put in 2 more lines. So we have to set up our adapter. Blue's Recyclerview adapter. And again, we can call it whatever we want. Let's just call it adapter. Equals new Blue's Recyclerview adapter. All right. You got to pass in this and the name of our model. Blue's model. Let me hit enter. Because it's, again, well, I can just move this over here. There we go. All right, and it's Blue's model, not Blue model. All right, 1 more line. 2 more lines. Recyclerview dot set adapter to what we just did, adapter, and I don't know why I got that, but I did. And then Recyclerview dot set layout manager, all right, to a new linear layout manager, and you have to pass in the word this. Save it. And this is when mine started to go to hell. So let's see if we run it, if yours runs or it doesn't run. So, does everybody have it? I'll just leave it up there for a second if you need it. No, and I'm not going to lie to you, I did this based off of a video that I saw. I couldn't tell anything. I went back and watched it 2 or 3 times. I couldn't find anything that I did that this person didn't do, or that this person did that I didn't, etc. Either they did and I didn't, or they didn't and I did. All right? So, this is the error that I got. Cannot invoke javax.xmlstream.events, etc. Anybody get this error? Did yours work? No. Okay. So our next task is to try to figure out why this didn't work, because I didn't see anything that I put in there that was incorrect. Now, I grabbed this error that I got because I've done this before. Believe me, I did it twice over the weekend. All right. And I copied it to the clipboard. Sometimes that's the best way, as you know. And I went into Google, and I said, Android error, and I pasted it all in, and it came back saying, there's nothing that matched that. So I figured, well, there's nothing that matched that because I was too specific. So I kept taking and grabbing pieces and removing them. All right? So this is one of the things that came up, and as you can see, I've already looked at this one. All right, this is from tab9.com. And I read through this, and I was more confused when I read through it, trying to fix it, than I was when I started. I got all sorts of errors in here, different errors, when I did different things. I got errors, I got database errors, and there's no database in here. I got network socket errors, and there's no networking in here. All right, so I'm not sure what the heck I was doing wrong. The good news is we're a good halfway through this one already. And even if for some reason we can't get this to work, the president one does work. All right?
So I did get an error, but I got a different error. You didn't like the capital J in the G Jordan Cairo.
Yeah, we had to fix that before.
Ah, okay.
Okay? That was an error I accidentally put in. If you go over to where you've got the files,
yeah, I'll refactor it.
yes, right mouse, yeah, that'll take care of that then. Yeah. Did anybody run it and get output?
I got a failure on resource compilation. So
Yes, I got that too. And guess what? It's when you go and you Google it, what they come back and they say is, this can happen for a variety of reasons. And I'm like, wow, thanks for putting that in there, because I'm so much better off than I was before. There used to be an error that we would get all the time running my SQL code, and it would be a generic error. You know, you would just basically bad resource, and you'd look it up and it would go, this can happen for a variety of reasons. You know, and we'd all just kind of laugh, like, okay, why don't you give us some? But I do want to show you this, and maybe I've shown it to you already. I don't know, but I'm going to show it to you again if I have not. And that is, I'm going to grab this, I'm going to do a file save all, and I am going to do a file close project, and I'm going to open here. Oh, that wasn't good. Let's see. Desktop slash, come on, slash there. Here we go. Alrighty. Oh, do I have that open? Let's see. And there it All right, so this, just so you see it, this is what we're going to create next. All right, so you'll notice as I've basically flipped my way through here that they're all the presidents are in there. So if I go down, it's a lot easier to do on a phone, as you can as you guess. But plus, we're going to be able to come in here, cancel that, and do this. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to click Add President. Now I'm going to scare the hell out of all of you right now. So I'm going to put in here for first name, and for last name, and for served, let's try 2028. And for an image URL, let's see, I thought there was a picture of me out there on Google Images, but I don't remember. Let's see photos. Way too many Jeff Scotts in this world.
Found you.
You found the error?
I found you.
Oh, where?
I looked up Jeff Scott Rankin.
Okay, I'll try that.
And the first one pops up.
Yeah, there it is.
Well, I got a different one.
Well, there's more than one. Okay, I'll use that one. Copy the link address. Come in here. Paste in the link address. Will it let me? Come on. Paste that. Alright. Click save. And now let's see if that worked. So. There he is. Didn't show the picture. So maybe I copied the address in incorrectly. These are the ones that I gave you already. Those are the pictures that I gave you. The one for Biden, I think, is wrong, because when I did this a year ago, that was right around the time he was being inaugurated. All right. So we're going to be able to do that. And you're going to be able, for instance, Donald Trump, I could click here, and I could change this. So I could make it Don if I wanted to. All right. So you can change any of that stuff. We could put in a different URL, etc. All right. So this is what we're going to be able to do. Now that works. Also, if you look right here, I think you'd agree that they're in order, but they're in order based on the presidents, right? But look on the screen here. We're going to click over here, and notice we've now got a menu. Last name, ascending or descending, and their term, ascending or descending. So if I go descending order, notice Woodrow Wilson is now first. All right. So like I said, that's going to be the next one that we do here. So. I don't know why it didn't put my picture in there, but it didn't. Let's see if I can take it locally. Oh, I think I copied the link address, not the image address. But you get the idea. So have a look at that if you get a chance and see if you can figure out where it was screwed up. And if you're still working on stuff, I did grade. All right, you probably noticed it. I sent the things back to you. It should be upgraded inside Rankin. With some of you in here, I didn't get either your test or I didn't get an assignment, or you gave me an assignment, but the assignment didn't compile and run. I'd rather have you turn it in where at least it compiles and runs, even if you lose some points for it being late. All right? Now, I think that the only thing that you had to do then, I gave everybody 10 out of 10 points for that, because we all did that thing for the tip calculator, even whether you put it out there or not. And you were supposed to be doing that lesson 4 from the code lab. That was already due, so whether you turned that in or not, but I don't think you had anything else due that I haven't graded yet, is what I'm saying, to my knowledge. All right? You turn that off, please. Thank you.